Hello, everybody. What is going on? And welcome to Bevvies with the boys. Me and Dagda are the boys, and we are joined tonight by two very special guests as we have some bevies for ourselves. We're joined by Caedrel and Ashley Kang. So we'll do a quick whip around as we always do at the start. If you guys just want to quickly introduce yourself, let us know what's going on in your life, and let us know what you're drinking tonight. Caedrel, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, my name is Caedrel. I play Jungle for XL in the LEC, but more recently you've seen me on the analyst desk at Worlds or casting, and I got me a half-liter Beck's beer. Can't go wrong with that. I got two of them, so I got a liter of beer. I'm good to go.
Nice. Ashley, do you want to give us a little intro?
Hi guys. My name is Ashley Kang. I am a content creator back in South Korea. You usually see me on videos talking to players from the League of Legends Championship Koreas, and yeah, right now I'm just focused on doing a lot of content for 2020 World Championship. Nice to meet you guys.
Maybe the busiest woman in the world. Do you want
I
to
don't
let us
know.
know what you're drinking as well?
Oh, sorry. So when I realized that the theme of the podcast is, well, podcast like video is going to be drinking bevies, I ran to the nearest convenience store because I am in South Korea, and I bought this lime flavored soju for €1, exactly €1.
Jesus.
Very nice. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Good choice.
Right. It's a
I
lot more
smelled some
expensive
already.
than that. All right, Dag, did you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm Dagda. I'm one of the LPL commentators with Munch, and I'm going to be drinking the same as I had last time, which is the absolute mango infused vodka. And then I got a lime soda water to mix with it, so it looks a bit funky, but it's delicious.
Respectable, respectable. All right, I'll go last. So I've gone very British this week, and I found
British.
some Iron Maiden themed beer that's just covered in Union Jacks. And not only did I get that, they've also done a special edition Halloween version of it. So I've got all kinds of ridiculous beer tonight. Fantastic.
I like the way you try and say it like this is the first time you've gone British when like the last time you
I
had like
had Spitfire the other night.
Yeah.
Well, it says out the Brits do the best dark ale in the entire world, and I won't take any more comments on that topic. So let's talk a little bit about the World Championship because I think that's why we're all here. So I feel like since we have an LEC representative here and an LCK representative here, we should start with the first semi-final that we saw. Ashley Kang, you're already beaming just thinking about it. Do you want to tell us a little something about your boys' Damwon?
I don't know. Like, it was a very hype matchup, Down versus G2. If you have been completely offline the last 2 weeks and haven't kept up with Reddit/Twitter at all, just to keep you updated, that this was a rematch for 2019 quarterfinals between G2 and Damwon, and the LCK rookies, so to speak, because Damwon is a team that is quite new to LCK as well as all the players being very young. Seem to have taken the last Worlds when they lost to G2 relatively personally, and we saw that Damwon not only came up with a good performance, but quite a few BMs, like emoting FPX and IG now and there. But it was a very interesting series, and G2 actually managed to get one game out of Damwon, but in the end, Damwon came out victorious. I guess that's the overview of it.
Caedrel, how did the series go from your perspective over on the LEC analyst desk at the time? Because that must have been hard to watch in the studio.
I have two theories. First theory.
Here we go.
The first theory is that Damwon played better because it was personal, and G2 didn't feel like it was personal, but they still ran it down for some reason. I don't know why. I think G2 ran it down a bit. I don't think Damwon played that good. I think G2 just misplayed. Like Mickey X on the Pantheon was completely sending it.
That was something. That
was dirty as
that
fuck.
was magical.
And then Caps was sending it in game 4 as well, getting solo killed. But I think given G2 in a good performance, they would have won. My second theory is if there was a crowd of 20,000 people, G2 would have won.
Interesting.
That's my controversial take.
Why?
Because,
Why?
like,
why
for
is
example,
that?
last year, right? Last year it was in was it in Spain? I think it was in Spain. They played against each other, and there was like 30,000 people screaming G2, and I think Damwon couldn't take it.
I mean, that's the
Would it
thing
be
though.
the same in
G2 had the
Shanghai,
home
though?
crowd advantage last time, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this time it would have been in China regardless. So who knows which team the Chinese fans would have been cheering for?
Well, then the broadcast would be there. Then I would be in the crowd, so I would scream. So I think it would still work. I don't know. It was I don't know. I feel like the whole semifinals, every semifinal, if you pick red side and you pick Leona, you win. It's just like a hack, I think. It's like, in Xbox or something, when you go up, down, left, right, R1, R2. If you pick red side and you pick Leona, you can't lose. And that's what happened in this series and the other series too.
Okay,
Dagda,
I just wanna
sorry, go on.
I just
Ashley.
want to take on that Leona pick. I do believe the Leona is an extremely valid pick at the moment because it kind of forces the enemy AD carry to take a cleanse. While there are so many spell choices in the bot lane right now, but it just looked like both G2 and Damwon, and I think this was actually decided by G2 and Damwon kind of followed it. Wanted to pick very, very map impacting champions. I don't know what's like the best way to do it. Like, I get the Twisted Fate is very like tier 1 champion at the moment, but we saw a very high contention for Twisted Fate compared to Suning versus Hess, where we even saw things like Azir. And I think Pantheon was another one like that. Hey, we want to move around the map as soon as possible, like shake things up around a bit, start skirmishes here and there. So I guess that was the reason behind Pantheon to pick, and also trying to deny Beryl from Pantheon because I think he was pretty much the first support player to play Pantheon support out of all the major regions.
Yeah, we definitely
I know what you're
saw
saying.
it in
I know what you're
LPL, but I have
saying.
no
I-
idea if it was first or
Beryl-
second or it was.
Beryl played it very, very early on. Very early on.
We saw it towards the latter half of summer in the LPL. Yeah, it's interesting though because like Mickey wasn't like historically bad on Pantheon. We saw Mickey play Pantheon before this game, and he was fine. Like he played well, honestly. So it's kind of surprising to see. It didn't feel like it was like an issue of the guy can't play Pantheon. It felt more of an issue of the team's not on the same page. He's going way more aggressive than everyone else is. Like it felt more like an issue of discoordination as opposed to an issue of the Pantheon picking of itself.
I felt that a lot throughout the series was like G2 kind of were a bit all over the place. Where like if you look in game one, like Wunder taking those 2 terror shots in the top lane just kind of screwed Yankos quite a bit because he had to go fix top lane because he took 2 terror shots in Renekton against Gangplank. So Wunder then lost his lane. Yankos had to go help him. Then in game 2, I think it was, they went for that early terror dive where Perks and Mickey both die in the terror dive. So all that advantages got over. And every single time they tried to do anything, Canyon's just free farming the whole time, and G2 would mess it up. And then Canyon's just like, great, I'm miles ahead, lads. I'm just going to kick you out.
I also think 2 things in game 1 especially was, I think first of all, G2 didn't expect Damwon to play Hecarim. I think that kind of caught them off guard. And I think the second thing is the Lucian flex looked good on paper, and when I saw it in the draft, I was like, okay, it makes sense because you get a better mid matchup for Hags, for example. But you're playing Lucian Rakan, and this lane, or was it, what did they play? They played was it Lucian Rakan? Think they played in bot, or they played like
I can
they
check.
played like
Lucian
such
Rakan,
a
yeah.
weak bot matchup, and every game they were drafting like just like so weak bot matchups. And he was Lucian Rakan versus Jin Leona or something. And I don't know how you can ever win this 2v2. It's impossible. Like I don't know why they don't draft a winning bot so Mickey can be unleashed on the map. I really didn't like the support picks from G2 throughout the games.
The draft in general just felt like it put them on a timer. Whereas just like they kind of realized, oh shit, we've got a mid game comp, we just get outscaled. And then they just tried to force plays that just end up backfiring for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
agree.
I'm just having a look at the draft for that one.
They always draft a losing bot matchup. I hated it.
Yeah, you're right. It was Lucian Rakan against Leona Jin.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah, it was a rough one. So like,
this 2v2 is like if Rakan W's in, he gets stunned and one-shotted, and then Lucian can never kill Leona, and then on top of that, Perks went tier on Lucian, so you're FFing the lane when you're playing an early game AD carry, on top of having a scaling support, which is for team fights, so neither of them kind of had any synergy. So I think if you picked something like Ezreal and put the Lucian mid, so you have some pressure in the lane, then it's actually good. But picking Lucian Rakan and not being able to all in is just doesn't do much. But it's good against Hecarim, I guess.
it was definitely a different take on the draft from G2, and I think it was interesting to see G2 trying to go for a different style in the draft though, because I do think that's something that's been their strength historically, being able to go for a different style of gameplay, being able to kind of dig a little bit deeper than some of the other teams. Do you think that this was like an extension of that, or do you think this was more just them trying to find a small advantage in the short term as opposed to it being like a preempted plan or whatever?
I think if you look historically at G2, they always have niche picks. And I think they try to innovate with the Lucian Flex, for example, or pulling out something like a Kali Kindred or whatever they did in game 2. I mean, you know them, like they took down SKT with Pike Top. they took down half of Rift Rivals with Pyke Jungle. Like they were playing mages bot. But the problem is, I feel like the meta is so shrunk to 4 to 5 champs per every role. Where if you don't play a certain champ, like let's say you play Lucian AD or you play Syndra bot, you're gonna get outscaled at 3 items against a Jhin. So these champs which are flexible, like Pyke top or whatever it is, for just taking people off guard, like these champs don't scale. And if you don't scale well in this meta, you're useless. Like if you pick early game champs, you fall off way too fast. So yeah, I don't know. They just didn't have any like spark that could help them over the finish line, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just throughout the games, the play was just not optimal, right? You had like a Lucian Rakan lane, you had like a Perks, Caps Zakali looked really shaky as well, sitting in a bush for 1 minute, not getting
You mean
anything.
Cap? Yeah.
Yeah, Caps, sorry.
I-
I didn't really like.
I will say playing for the early game worked pretty well for Damwon in game number 4. I think that's the entire game was the early game, in fact.
Well,
And G2
yeah, that
helped.
was a world record.
That was a
That was
world
a world
record.
record.
So let's. Sorry, go on, Ashley.
This is like a side thing, but Damwon Gaming famously only played 2 best of 5s against
Dragon X.
other teams until the one with G2, and both of those best of 5s were against DRX, and we found a similar thing with DRX. DRX felt like, hey, we simply could not give Damwon Gaming any kind of early lead because this team is so good at snowballing, and I don't have any information on scrim result, etc. But like DRX also looked, because I guess they've been practicing against Damwon Gaming so much, hey, we have to play off early game, and again they seem to draft for the early game, and they couldn't execute with those kind of comps, especially in this meta. You have to execute it perfectly, otherwise you fall behind, and the game just doesn't go as well as you had hoped for. And by what Caedrel is describing and the frustration he has about drafts, it could almost be predicted that G2 kind of fell in the same conundrum as DRX. Hey, they have come to a decision maybe that they had to get an early game lead, otherwise, they couldn't win the game in any other way. Maybe, just maybe. It's just the same pattern that I noticed.
The only things I heard from scrims was there was some memes going around saying, if you're gonna scrim Damwon, don't scrim them 2 days in a row.
Oh yeah, there was Yankos who said that in the press conference before the semifinals. He was giving advice to Larson.
Yeah.
Don't
It's
scrim them
like
2 days in a
too
row.
brutal for the mental. I think that's hilarious as well, actually, that you've got Damwon, who are the Korean scrim gods. You got Suning, who are the LPL scrim gods. And now we have a final of both scrim gods have managed to transition that scrim godness
though, 'cause
onto the stage.
Normally there's like players or teams which are actual scrim gods, but then on stage they are just terrible, or like they're just really, really below their expectation. But it's interesting that both scrim gods are like the best teams.
Sorry, go on, Dagda.
That's the problem now. You're going to end up coming in now, and everyone's going to be like, see, I told you, scrims mean everything. They're going to mean everything.
Yeah.
But it's just like, no. Some teams have it on stage, some teams have it in scrims, but this is like an anomaly where they both actually work together.
One thing
I'll tell you a secret. Sorry to interrupt you. I'll tell you a secret about our XL split. We had a week of scrims where we went 1-24. And then we went 2-0 on stage against I can't remember who it was, and G2.
So how was
their fake data?
What was the mentality like stepping onto the stage? Like on the start of that first game, when you're stepping on the stage, are you just like already in the mindset of this is doomed, or it is a really bad scrim week not that big of a deal to you?
Well, it was online. It was this split, so we didn't actually go on stage. But I say stage when I mean competitive game. It's my bad, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just go with nothing to lose, and then we went 2-0. It was like, okay, nice. And then from then on, our scrim results came a lot better. It was like 56% win rate, which is fine. But that week was a horror. It was like, I think it was a new patch, and we were trying out so many things, and nothing was working, and we were all getting mad.
You start the week as best friends, and you finish the week like hating each other.
Yeah, then we went 2-0 and everything was forgotten, so it was a banger week. It was like this, the roller coaster was really like this.
Yeah. Well, that's what they always say, isn't it? That like a winning team doesn't have many issues like interpersonally, because it's kind of the ultimate like band-aid for the team of like, if you're winning, everything's golden. Like the world is a better place kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to actually ask, since we've got the 2 scrim god teams in the finals, how much do you guys think that is influenced by the fact that there is no crowds, by the fact that even though they're on stage, it's not the same. Like kind of what you were alluding to earlier, Caedrel, where these teams don't have audiences. Do you buy into the fact that some teams feed off of the audience and some teams don't, or do you think that that's kind of a bit superfluous?
I think there is something behind the having an audience. I think that some players can crumble and some can like really shine. I don't know. It depends on the player. I think there's like 3 stages to an audience. You have like the players who choke it up and they can't handle the pressure. You have players who don't really get affected, and you have players who just completely clutch it when there's a stage. I think a good example of that is Perks. I think he's under pressure, like in a best of 5 with a crowd, he's completely unleashed, and he plays out of his mind. But I think it's just kind of sad that there was no stage or like well, there was a stage, but there was no like real crowd because I think there's so many aspects to it, right? It's like the pressure of stepping on stage, being introduced, your setup feels different, the air is cool, like the stage is shaking when the crowd is screaming, like you can hear the people screaming through people's mics, so you can hear it in your headsets. So I don't know, it has an aspect to pressure, and I think that if it adds way more pressure than just having no crowd. So I think people do get affected in certain ways.
Is the candle you're holding for DRX and Gen G, Ashley?
Should I send one to Caedrel so he can hold up on G2 too?
Okay. Oh, everywhere I go, it's oh no, not me, please.
Brutal.
I have
Good one,
two for DRX and Gen G. So
Good one,
maybe
Ashley. Good one, Ashley.
I like that we have Ashley on this week, so then if LPL loses next week, we're totally in the clear.
Yeah, exactly. We're roast free at the
Sunning
minute.
win now. I hope Sunning win now.
I was cheering
Oh.
it.
Now I'm on the Sunning hype train.
Welcome aboard, mate.
No.
Welcome aboard. I happen to be the conductor.
Oh, lovely.
So actually, I want to ask you as well. Do you, because you've spoken to a lot of players, I feel like you've heard a lot of different perspectives. Is this something that you've got a vibe that this has influenced any of the players? The fact that there is no audience, the fact that they're, even though they're playing on stage, it's not in that live environment quite in the same way. Do you feel like players have been affected? Have you heard anything that's like would suggest that, or even the fact that they're in, I assume, a green screen arena must be kind of weird.
I remember asking Nuguri about this. I'm just trying to bring up the conversation. Though I also talked to Kenyon about this. Like, I think that the players themselves will tell you that, you know, they have had enough stage experience because also in the LCK we play the majority of the games at Low Park, and it is a big stadium, like without the virtual screens, and you have the casters there. So I think like they will tell you themselves that, hey, like, you know, we have got enough stage experience that it doesn't impact us anymore. But as Caedrel is saying, I do think that it does have certain impact. Yeah, like, you know, Diamond Gaming, they did not perform as well as their Scrim expectations in 2019 Worlds, and perhaps nerves played some parts in it. And like also like Caedrel mentioned, some players just love to step on the stage, like, you know, Reckless or Perks or even players like Faker. So I will say it does play a certain aspect because it's such a huge, like, I'm not a player myself, so I'm probably not the best person to, you know, give any observation of it, but it must be such a big thing to step on that stage and, like, you know, realize just seeing audience in front of you and everyone, like, you know, it hits you. Everyone is watching my performance. And even when you wear the headphones, the players will tell me, hey, when we make a big play and the crowd cheer, we can still hear them through the white noise, through the headphones, and it has such a big impact on the performance. So I would say that it does have a certain impact. Yeah.
I was just going to point out that as much as I love European teams, I think a good example of this by just looking at facts is Mad Lions, right? So you look at Mad Lions in spring on stage in the LEC, they were around 6th, 7th place. They just about made playoffs. The stage did disappear towards the end of the week. They made playoffs. They got 3rd place. And then all of this split, they came 2nd in the regular season, no stage. Then they go to Worlds, and their scrims are going really good, from what we heard. Then they get on stage, and they just can't play. They're not even with a crowd, but just the fact they're on stage against these wildcard regions, they weren't performing. Let's be honest, they were kind of running it a bit. And then the best of 5, they played really bad as well. So it's sort of something to look at as a fact rather than like kind of question it in a way. I just think that Mad Lions, for example, for me, especially when I played against them in spring, I thought that on stage it didn't feel like they were as aggressive or performing as well. But then when it came to
Mhm.
online games, they really stepped up. It felt like it wasn't like the biggest change for them going into summer. I think the coaching staff helped them a lot. But when I played against them in spring versus summer, there was a massive change for me.
It's quite interesting because back in LCK, we had DRX, who ended up being LCK's second seed. And that team had a lot of rookies, Doran, who haven't had that much stage experience, Pershik, who was like a streamer 2 months before he debuted, Keria, who literally turned 17 to play on stage. And DRX had a really good performance throughout this year. And people did wonder that having the audience and allowing the new younger players to adjust on the stage without having like those disruptions actually helped with DRX's success. But yeah, that's like a side topic.
Interesting. Well, I want to move the conversation on to the other semi-final because I do also want to roll around to talking about kind of expectations for the finals, and then maybe if we've got time, depending how long we go, maybe talk about some like roster swap rumors and things like that at the end of the show if we're feeling spicy. But we'll have to wait and see. So let's talk top esports and Suning, because I'm not going to lie, that series, even though I was completely correct on the prediction, by the way, I don't know if anyone knows this, but I got the prediction right.
Put this for Weibo.
That was actually kind of an anticlimactic series. I was really hoping for 5 games. I was really hoping for like long, like bloodthirsty games. We had really slow games to start the series off, and like Suning looked amazing. Top esports, I feel like underperformed pretty massively, right? I don't even think that's controversial to say. Like JackeyLove especially he kind of ran it down.
I loved Azale's.
The 2v2
If you
kill.
look at Azale's Twitter for like game 1 is just what the fuck is Jackie Love doing in like 5 tweets. Just like highlight after highlight of Jackie Love flashing in and just dying instantly for no reason.
So like I saw some stat, and someone might need to confirm me on this, but Jackie Love picked Jin on the first game, and he only used ult once in that entire game.
Bruh.
Wait, really?
Wow.
Yeah, because he had like really low damage.
Huh.
He didn't even hit 10k.
Oh my god.
Damn. And that's rare
might
for
need
JackeyLove.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I might need to confirm it.
even when
that's-
JackeyLove is inting, he still does like insane damage. That's the beauty of JackeyLove, right? That's always been his strength in the LPL, is that like, sure, he's gonna be super, super aggressive in all situations, and sometimes it's gonna be pretty in. But he's always going to be topping the damage. He's always going to be min-maxing. We saw his Senna when he first played it at Worlds, and everyone was like, oh, that's what Senna's meant to look like. That's how the damage is meant to come on through. It's like the duality of JackeyLove. I feel like we only saw the negative side, though, during this semi-final.
I don't know. He died 2v2 to an Ezreal. Then he died 2v2 with Kate and Lux into an Ezreal again. And I don't know. Every lane he was drafting, it felt like he was losing. And teamfights wasn't playing that good, I think. I don't know what happened there.
How much of it do we think is down to JackeyLove, and how much do we think is down to Huanfeng and Sword Art playing exceptionally? Like, where do you guys sit on the debate of this was top being bad versus this was Suning being good?
Some of the plays that JackeyLove was making by himself, I don't know, like I know that a lot of this is going to get clicked on Weibo, etc. But it was just individually, it wasn't the JackeyLove that I was expecting. And this is me talking as a person who watched the LPL finals live, and I was watching Test versus Jingdong Gaming, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is like the clash of gods. Look at this bloodthirsty, like, super mechanical plays flashing everywhere. Like, oh my god, look at this, like, Knight, like, landing his ult. Like, I'm as an LCK fan, I'm scared. I'm really scared, and that's not the test that I saw on the stage. And from a person who does watch LPL and came to expect a lot from the LPL teams, this was not what I was expecting. Like, I know that Karsa was trying really his best, and Knight at times was usually trying to, like, lift Test by like the throat, and they're trying to drag them through the finish line, like 1v9ing. But yeah, I don't know. Like, JackeyLove and even the top lane is 369. Like, it wasn't the test that we were expecting, and we had a very high expectation on Test coming into this Worlds.
Yeah, I think you can kind of hit a happy medium, right? Because I think, yes, we saw like Jackie Love flashing in at dragon fights and stuff, but Bin played well around it to go like, oh crap, hang on, I can actually do something with this. And I think they were positioned well in a lot of those dragon fights as well, where they were finding flanks, and even if top esports knew where they were still playing well around it. Or sorry, Suning were still playing well, but I think yeah, top esports just they didn't really respect them. It felt like for a lot of it, whereas just like okay, well they're there, but we're still going to skill check it. But Suning on the day were just outperforming them pretty much in every single team fight, whether it was Angel catching them with a Zoe or the Akali at the end of the day, or we saw Huan Feng looking amazing. Bin had a fantastic series, and SOFM was doing SOFM things. So I think overall that skill check the top esports usually go for, they just failed miserably at.
Yeah, I actually want to ask you specifically, Caedrel, here about SOFM, and especially in the context of him going against Canyon, because obviously you're kind of the resident jungle expert here. Everyone always says that SOFM is like a totally different style of jungler to everyone else. Like he seems to look at the game in a different way. Like, can you kind of like explain that a little bit if you share that same opinion, or debunk that a little bit if you're against that opinion?
I was talking to Frosk about this last week, and she said she said something to him apparently, or he said something regarding the fact that every game he goes into the game and he thinks about jungle, and he wants to make the perfect jungle pathing humanly possible in every game, and that's all he thinks about. And I was watching his some of his pro views and stuff, and this guy's efficiency in farming it's disturbing. Like he's always clearing his camps perfectly, and I don't know, he's so cocky. I've never seen a Jarvan or Lee Sin just literally walk up to someone and just stand still and just look at them in the eyes.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
there's
he's
like
so
that
alpha.
2 minutes.
Brand new shit ever.
Oh my god.
He's so alpha, and then on top of it, I just think he plays teamfights so good. Like he's so good at identifying, for example, on Lee Sin, like in one of the dragon fights, he identifies well. Jackie Love's pretty much dead in this fight. Even though Jackie Love's 5-0, I could go on him and kill him, but I'll go on Knight instead. And just the way he plays his kicks are just so crazy good. And I don't know, his champion pool is really good. He's a pretty good jungler. I think the only weakness he has is he doesn't gank as much. But then even coming into the series against top esports, he just spam ganked top, got the Wukong super far ahead. 369 Jace looked a bit like an NA Jace in that game. And then they just kind of carried from top side. So I don't know, going up against Canyon also looks like, I was watching his pro views too. The weird thing about Canyon is I feel like he has a map hack. I don't know why, but when he plays, it feels like he has a map hack. Because I watch his pro view, and this guy never uses his F keys or looks at any lane, maybe once every minute, but he still knows how the lanes are going, and he's
They
always there at the
shuckle
right
a
time.
lot. That one shuckles a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, they have a map hack, I'm convinced.
Fun
So you've got one jungler who's got efficiency, and you've got one jungler with a map hack, so I don't know who's going to win.
fact. For viewers who aren't familiar with it, there is a challenge called, is it Ning Challenge or Soften Challenge?
Yeah, it's a Ning challenge,
Also,
right?
It's a Ning
Ning,
Challenge,
yeah.
and then like Ning was very, very slow at clearing jungle camps,
Yeah.
and other junglers came in and tried to beat Ning's record for it, and I think Sofum actually won that challenge.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because I wasn't there.
Even Rookie did the challenge.
Yeah.
Which is obviously Ning's
and
mid
beat
laner.
Ning's record.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's pretty brutal. I actually want to. Sorry, go on.
I just wanted to clarify this. I'm pretty sure that Sofum won that eventual challenge.
That's
Damn.
amazing.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
He's a PvE master.
it
That guy
doesn't
plays
surprise
World
me
of
at all,
Warcraft raids so much, I'm sure of it.
He's challenging
gonna-
Wonder at this point.
Wonder's gonna try to scout him for stand by the pool and
Yeah.
try to talk to Sofa.
They've got to have something to do with the off season, right? So I kind of want to circle back on something that you mentioned there, Caedrel, the alpha moves that SOFM was making. Because let's just take a moment and appreciate the 2 minutes that he dedicated. I don't know if you guys saw the ProView clip of SOFM literally dedicating like a solid 2 minutes to making sure Jackie Love and Yanja can't recall. And it's like literally his sole task for a solid 2 minutes into the game, to the point where he's like walking up, like tier 1 is still available, and he's like walking up to the tier 2 to throw a flag at Jackie so that he could continuously not recall, so they could secure the bot tier 1. And that is like, in terms of jungle efficiency, probably not optimal, right? But in terms of like game efficiency, being able to guarantee the tier 1 in that way, like it's such a creative way to change the way the game is being played. And I think that's one of the things SOFM brings, that it's kind of hard to, it's not very tangible, but he seems like such a He just always seems to have a weird solution that's a bit outside of the box, but he'll find a way to make whatever it is he's doing efficient in some way.
But I think that's been the cool thing about SOFM is like if you look at him from spring, like we didn't rate him as a jungler at all because like literally what Caedrel said was, he's alpha, his engages are great. Like his engages were shite back in spring. Like he was horrific. You couldn't get him to go in at all. He would mess them up if he did go in. It felt like they were pussyfooting around the dragon fights all the time. It wouldn't do anything. So I love the growth that we've seen from this guy over the course of the year where now he is much more confident in his engages. He's doing these creative, cool plays that are actually making big advantages for Suning. And now you actually get to talk about this. Oh yeah, crazy jungle efficiency, how good he is at farming, rather than oh well, you're supposed to be doing Dragon, but or Rift Herald, but SOFM's on the other side of the map clearing a camp. Like you're actually getting to see what he is capable of now that he's able. I don't know if it's a team thing or whatever the way the team environment has changed up this split, but whatever it is, like he's progressively got so much better over summer, but he's 10 times better than he was ever in spring.
I mean, I remember we were looking at the stats before the game against Top Esports, and Karza had like the second highest kill assists at 15, whereas SOFM had the lowest, and then SOFM had the highest CSD at 15, and Karza had one of the lowest. And you could see like, okay, these are two different junglers, but I'm convinced that SOFM was watching Hylissang's pro view in that bot 2 minutes thing, because Hylissang does the same thing, except Hylissang will die for it. SOFM was a bit more controlled in this. Hylissang will chase you to your tier 3, level 5, and he'll hook you on your tier 3 to make sure you cancel your base and die for it, and then make you have to cancel your base again to kill him, and then base, and then run spot. So yeah, SOFM is a bit of a tempo genius. He knows that if he keeps canceling them, I don't know. I think it's just disrespect from Top Esports. You just have to stand at your tower and base, or run to your Nexus if you have to. Like, it's better than just sitting there getting recall cancelled 10 times in a row every 8 seconds, wasting 2 minutes, not catching waves, losing plates. Like, he is a king of efficiency, and that was mega, mega efficient. I think even dying for it there was worth it after the 2 minutes.
So you're saying SFM didn't commit hard enough. You would have gone all the way to the Nexus if that was necessary.
Just chase him to the Nexus. And then your bot lane is laning 2 versus 0, hitting the plates, plus 160 gold every like 15 seconds, pushing in waves which are like 250 gold each. So they're just gaining like 400 gold every minute that you're wasting their time, when they're losing like 200 gold every minute that you're wasting their time because they can't catch the waves. So I don't know, he must have it in his head. He knew that if he keeps canceling them, then it's a timer until they are going to get back to the lane, and then every time they were cancelled, the timer kept going up. So yeah. Tempo genius.
I like it a lot. All right, let's talk a little bit about the mid lane though, because I think there were some surprises in the mid lane in this series. First of all, Angel leveling up in a huge way. Like, we've seen Angel have exceptional games across the year, but it's been like few and far between. In this series, he looked consistent and he looked fantastic. His Akali is basically something that I don't have the stats on how many times he played it in the LPL, but when I think of Angel, I don't think of Akali, you know. Once, is it?
Once in spring. The second one was against whatever team it was that he's playing.
G2.
Or on the G2, yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, G2. And then the third one was this one.
He just like pulls it out of nowhere, and suddenly he's like, hey, by the way, I'm a fantastic Akali, I'm going to take over the game. Like, Angel has leveled up, but also on the other side, Knight had a pretty quiet series. Like, I don't think Knight played badly, but it certainly wasn't like, when you consider the hype around Knight coming into the tournament, the expectation of Knight that was built up was kind of, he's going to 1v9 every single game. And that was not the level of performance we saw out of Knight in the mid lane, unfortunately.
I think Knight got a little bit done dirty, to be honest. I think everyone's kind of talking about him going, oh, well, he didn't hard carry this game. But if you look at like the Oriana game specifically, there was a couple of times where he got like these fantastic shockwaves where he'd nearly kill off SOFM, and Kindred would just about get the ults off. And you're like, okay, cool. Now you can do some stuff with this. You've got 2 people off the map. And then you see Jackie Love just arcane shift over the wall and die 1 for 1. Like, there was plenty of times where they could have made advantages off of these plays that Knight was making, but it felt like the rest of the team was kind of falling apart around them. So I think definitely there was a little bit of, I think Knight could have had more moments to shine, but I definitely don't think he's been put forward correctly with the impact that he had.
I mean, he played 3 Oriana games in a row. He was really jailed by his coach, I think. I mean, the Echo game he played, he was popping off, but the problem was enemy Jax was 15-0, so he couldn't really match him on side lane. So he had to rely on himself to smurf the team fights. But then Karsa kind of put the handcuffs on him and said, I'm going to lose this game real quick, and then tried to dive Jax on a tier 1. So yeah, he definitely got jailed in that game. And then the other games, like his Oriana was fine. The problem with Oriana is you're buying a tier and you're waiting till 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 items, and then you're going to carry. But his team was griefing it before that. So I would have liked to have seen Knight on some more proactive champs. Maybe something like Akali, which he played in the group stage. Even though his Akali in the
I want
group
to
stage
see
looked
Zoe.
shaky. Or Zoe as well, yeah. Something that can actually do something. Because Oriana is all about peeling for your tanks and then waiting for them to step too far forwards, popping a shockwave and killing everyone. But if enemy team is playing like Jax or Zoe or Akali, it's impossible to hit these champs with a shockwave. And they're also playing loads of Ezreal against them as well. So it's not like they had like an Ashe or an Azir in the backline, barring game one, obviously. But it's not like he could really do much with his ult. So, I mean, it must have been scrim results. I think that's the only real thing I can guess. Like, he must have been scrimming with Oriana, and it looked broken in scrims. And then he thought, oh, let's just pick Oriana every game. Same kind of thing with the Galio. Like, the Galio, he didn't play it, but in the group stage and some of the quarterfinals games, I think Galio was considered OP because you just pick Predator and you just run bot and get a double kill. But on stage, the realism is that you're stuck on your tower down 30 CS and you're useless. So that champ fell off quite quickly, and I think Oriana was not as proactive as it should have been for a player like Knight.
Just completely going off the tangent. I was listening to the Korean cast for the test versus Suning because the Shy was like the guest commentator.
Yeah. Maybe the least
God.
self-aware player in the history of the world.
Let me tell you, he's raging at every single like wrong moves at top, like the top laner is making, and all he talks about is top lane, by the way. And like, I think it was Caster Kim who actually commented out, "You're the person who plays in the LPL and makes all these weird moves." But the Shy is like, "Yeah, I only go in when there is a good angle for it." I'm like, "Oh my fucking god!"
I respect it. Just go forward.
My favorite reply, I saw that on Twitter. My favorite reply was from Emily, and she basically said, "I'd love to watch him commentate a game of his without the nameplates on and see what he said." Because I would honestly pay good money to see that.
But he was like commenting on nice choice of tier, saying that, oh, this is too late game facing, and like, I'm used to rookie, I'm used to early game aggression, like, or Rihanna, like, maybe could have gone with like, something more AS, but I just like thought of that. It was a funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Shy,
definitely.
what a legend.
I think if you're used to having rookie in the mid lane, no matter who your mid laner is other than rookie, you're going to be pretty much complaining and saying this guy's not doing enough because, like, let's be real here, rookie kind of has a little bit more than his fair share of burden on that team, especially
on Oriana. Especially on Oriana, rookie's
Yeah.
Oriana is like, oh my god,
it's something else, man.
I think there's players that when they know the game is in a losing scenario, they will flip it 10 times in a row, and every flip gets worse in their favor. So the first one might be a 50-50, but the next one after that, if they lost it, is a 40-60, then it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
And the Shy is the perfect example of that. Like, if the game's being lost, he will all in and flip it and die 10 times in a row trying to make it work. And if it doesn't work, the game's over. But if he never tried it in the first place, the game's over anyway. So that's what I love about it.
Is it the Clear Love meme that's like, I'm ahead, therefore we should fight?
Oh yeah,
No, it's MLXG.
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 It is absolutely MLXG.
I love those players.
Yeah, I do as well. There was a clip from the LPL of, I want to say it was Curse, but it could have been the Shy, honestly, where they're on Aatrox and like the game is so beyond gone at this point. Oh, is it natural?
I think it was natural.
They've been playing fine all game, but the rest of the team has kind of run it down, and half their team is dead, half their team's in base. They're totally alone. They walk behind the Baron pit where there are 4 members of the enemy team and just go all in on a player, die immediately. And it was just like,
I think it's natural, but he TP'd in. Like, he TP'd into 4 people and then was just like, I don't know what you expected there, buddy.
It's like, this is the kind of play that's like maybe a 1% play, but if you pull that off, you're an LPL legend forever.
I think lots of players have that symptom of just all-in and flipping it, but some players have the symptom stronger than others. Like, you have Caps, who has a little bit of that symptom. He does it now and then. Humanoid does it as well. Perks tends to do it too, Wunder as well. But then you have like the LPL players who have a real big injection of that symptom, like the Shy, for example. I love the Cannon just going 110 if he has to, just keep going. If he knows he's going to get dove, then dive me. You have to play it perfectly. If you do it, I'll die. Sure, kill me. But if you don't, the game's lost.
It's like this ridiculous thing. It's like the global threat of Teemo, right? where it's like
Yeah.
the global taunt. It's like, you have to dive me. You know you have to dive me. Come
Yeah,
on.
it's in there. You have to get in their heads sometimes if you're losing, and that's how you do it. Just like SOFM, when he's ahead, he just gets in your head. He just stands there and he looks at you in the eyes with Jarvan. He says, "If you walk up, I'm gonna EQ," but he never EQs. So you're also like, "Oh, maybe he's never gonna do it." And then you walk up and you're just dead. So
Like, I actually do appreciate that whole LPL mentality, because this was also something that I saw a lot of players who were solo queuing in the Chinese server saying that, hey, in the Chinese server, people tend to go in even at 40-60, 30-70, because they believe, because they have the pure skill, they can, come out favorable on their particular, trade. And that's essentially like the Chinese mentality, and I guess I appreciate it, because that's something that LCK has often been commented on lacking. Again, going back to guest commentators in the Korean broadcast, Rookie was on the Korean broadcast some time ago, and of course, he's Korean, but at the same time, he's an LPL player, and he said something that kind of stuck with me. Like, yeah, like they're trying something drastic and they're throwing, but you have to throw enough to know how to make a super play. Otherwise, you don't know how to make a super play. And there was a really LPL quote, but it also kind of makes sense in a little way. I don't know how to say
It's
it.
like it's the higher level of limit testing, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
throw enough games, you don't know how to make the play that
Limit
doesn't
test.
throw the game. Yeah.
that
Yeah,
term
yeah,
was
exactly.
floating around Europe as well. The term super play. It's like when the game is lost, just flip it, and it's called the super play. And if it works, then you're back in it, and if it doesn't, then the game ends faster. So it's a win-win.
If it doesn't work, then you go home and get some pizza.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, if the team has all your tier 2s and they're setting up for Baron and you're like 5k gold down, there's like a 90% chance this game's lost. But if you take a fight which is like 30-70 in your favor, so you have a 30% chance, it's better than just sitting as your towers farming when the game's on a 90% lose chance. So yeah, sometimes you just have to all in, try the super play, and then it doesn't work, then you try it. And you can at least lose the game while trying. So that's why you see teams like G2 or LPL teams will make a game snowball out of control sometimes because they're just flipping it. Whereas I think LCK and historically, as a region, they never really wanted to. If the game's really bad, they'll just slow it down as much as possible, put the brakes on, try and farm up, and then keep going. But then I think over the last couple of years, they got a lot more aggressive.
I will say, as a spectator, it frustrates me when you see the team with worse scaling just playing as slow as possible because they're behind, and like maybe we'll scale into this one, like praying that the enemy just completely throws for like 50 minutes, and it's like, oh god, can we just play the next game? I just want to watch something interesting. Oh god, I'm losing my mind. I've seen that so many times. It's yeah, that's something. But hey, I'm in the LPL, so we don't see that very often, let's be honest. So let's talk about the finals here.
Actually, that's a lie. One of the top esports Sunning games, I was really falling asleep in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
It was
right?
like first
weird.
15 minutes, I was like.
But
and
I
then all of
will
a sudden,
say, I've seen that a bit in LPL best of fives. The first couple of games, it always feels like they're kind of warming into it. It feels like they're kind of taking some baby steps, like testing the waters a little bit. It always feels like they're a little tentative at the start, and the longer the series goes on, the more bloodthirsty it gets, with some exclusions, because there have definitely been just some pure bloodbaths.
Because like the last year's IG versus Ep5, it was super interesting and it was an absolute bloodbath, if I remember correctly. And like this one, I don't know. Yeah, I just had a lot of expectations, especially for Test. I guess maybe that's why.
Yeah,
Can't
I
wait
think
to see
Tez
Tournament
is the
Worlds.
least like LPL team when it comes to that stuff specifically, because like when you look
Really?
at them at MSC, for example, they actively chose to go, hey, we're not going to fight all the time at the early game. We're quite happy to go late game and go for the team fighting style. We have seen them play the more LPL style, but we have seen them in international tournaments opt out of that style and go, hey, we're going to play for late game team fights. We're not going to go crazy in the early game.
I wonder how much of that is Karsa, because even though Karsa is really versatile, he does also excel in like more helping jungler, so to speak, rather than being like an active carry.
Maybe
not
the
sure.
most
What do you
helpful
guys think?
jungler. All right, let's talk
I
about the
think
finals.
just on that point
Go on,
real quick,
Dagda.
I think Jackie Love is the shot caller for that. So I have a theory that like Jackie Love just fell behind and then was like, "Oh shit, let's not do fucking anything." So I think a little bit of that was kind of coming from him, where he's just like, "I'm behind, we're behind, let's not do anything." But even then, it was just when you saw him in team fights, he was just like gung ho. So I don't know how
He was
realistic
ahead in
that
game
is.
one. In the first game of the series, Jackie Love got a lead in the lane, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. But
Yeah,
either
he was
way,
3-0. Yeah.
it's pure speculation at this point. But yeah, unfortunate for Top Esports, they don't make it to the final. But that does mean that Suning do. Haha. So we have Suning versus Damwon as the finals. Scrum Gods against Scrum Gods. And I've spoken to a few people about this at this point, and there are some people that are aboard the Suning hype train and believe this is going to be an amazing series, and then there is everyone else who believes this is going to be a Damwon 3-0. So, where do you guys stand on this? Because I need some reinforcements here, because I feel like it's a losing battle at this point in terms of
How many of those
predictions.
people you talked to about Suning winning were just yourself in the mirror convincing
They're,
yourself?
they're my acolytes, the people that I've managed to convert at this point. Dagda, what's your expectation? We'll start with you.
I don't know. I feel like Damwon are definitely the favorite. Like unless Suning, like one of the things from Suning in the summer season was they could be adaptable, so they could like play a very different style based on who they were fighting. And we talk about it a lot, like that V5 series where they just looked like a different beast, super aggressive, playing so aggro and getting a bunch of kills in the early stages. And we saw it a little bit from SOFM this semi final as well. And I think when I look at Damwon, the way to beat them is maybe I'm falling into the same trap as G2 and DRX, but they if you can make those early plays work, like the early ganks, you can get a lead, and that's where you seem to be able to beat Damwon. But I think if Sunni end up playing this slow paced style, which is kind of more their bread and butter, I think they're going to end up just getting to the late game, and that's where Sunni's mid game shot calling is good. Their late game shot calling is not so hot because it is a relatively new squad, and I think Damwon will just eat them at that stage.
All right, so Damwon favored in the late game. Ashley, Caedrel, where do you guys sit on this one? Because Ashley, for you, I'm going to assume this is going to be Damwon favored, right? I feel like you kind of have to be Damwon favored at this point.
I think like I tweeted about this, but something that people need to think about is, throughout Worlds, and I know that a lot of people don't necessarily watch the LCK and only know Damwon from their Worlds performance. Think of Damwon as a team that plays stably and towards the late game, towards the team fights, because at Worlds often they play quite clinically and they try to get the objectives and slowed usually more Herald, Drakes, I think, and then kind of slow more off there. But Damwon definitely throughout 2019 and also in the majority of 2020 wasn't a team like that. This was a team that was considered like the LPL team that randomly got dropped in the LCK, a team with muscle back in 2019 without a muscle, without a brain, so to speak. They brute force their way through skirmishes all the way into the Nexus by Nuguri playing their top carry champions all the time. Showmaker being a really, really good laner, and Canyon also being really gifted mechanically. And it was only sometime in the middle of 2020 summer split that Damwon actually started diversifying their playstyle. We see it in the 2020 summer split finals when Damwon suddenly decided to play Orin top Nuguri, and everyone just kind of lost their shit because, oh my god, Nuguri is playing Orin? What the fuck is this timeline? Because he's always like playing things like Camille and Chase and stuff like that. So Damwon started diversifying their playstyle quite closely to Worlds. And I guess that's because they decided that that specific playstyle is the best for Worlds at the moment. But from my experience, they can play other styles and definitely the early game skirmish style. And I think they'll simply decide what way is the best to tackle against Suning and kind of go from there. So I'll be quite surprised if Damwon decides that hey, Suning is gonna try to play for early aggression and they try to match it. I think Damwon can actually go toe to toe on that too.
It's kind of funny to me that you mentioned the Ornn, by the way, because that is the exact same topic for Bin. Like we saw Bin play Ornn in their semi-final. It was like, what?
Oh, we lost that shit.
What?
Yeah, it's like
why? Like this is Bin. He doesn't play Ornn. He doesn't play tanks. He plays carries. Like that's all he does. That's what he does. Just let him do that. I feel like after play-ins, Ornn was like 100% pick ban, 100% win rate. And then now we get to the World Finals, and it's like, just stay away from Ornn, please, guys. Like, we don't want to see it. Like, let's just play carry top laners. This is the way forward, I think.
That's the thing about Nuguri. I think like it's quite funny because Ben says I'm not like the shy, but he really feels like the shy sometimes.
Honestly, Damwon feel like that IG of the LCK in my mind. Like, it's super, super. There's a lot of parallels there between those two teams, in my opinion.
But I think the Damwon actually can play a bit smarter, and they tend to move better as a team. IG felt more raw, especially Ning. Ning was very, very raw.
I feel like that's almost a choice on IG's part, where it feels like they kind of don't want to be super serious, but I don't know. That's speculation on my part. Caedrel, I am interested to hear your take on this as well, though. Where are you sitting, like, at the start of the conversation here with Damwon and Suning?
I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot, actually. I don't know. I feel like Damwon they have no weaknesses. It kind of pisses me off sometimes. I can't find any holes in their play. I think that this game will be decided. First of all, I think drafts will be so important in this series because I think that if Canyon gets a winning jungle matchup and they get a winning bot matchup, then I think the game is already over, kind of. I think if you saw that in the drafts, like the way they drafted against G2, that one was so good. Like they realized Leona was OP, and then they started blind picking Caitlyn, and then forcing them to not pick Leona because then they can go Caitlyn Morgana, and then you can't lane. So they are. The thing is, they also have champion oceans. Like they have Lulu top Ornn, they have carries, they have playmaking mids, they have supportive mids, they have roaming supports, they have laning supports. So they have a big champion ocean. So I think if Sonic can get a good draft and a really good jungle matchup for SOFM, I think they're in a good spot. I also think that team fighting, I think Sunning is really, really, really strong right now. So I think that if it comes to team fights, then I think Sunning will be fine because you saw it against Top Esports in the first game. They were down like 4k gold. They were down 2 Drakes. It kind of sucked for them, but they scaled and they won the fight. So they know their win conditions pretty well. So I don't know. I kind of want Sunning to win because I want Sword Art to win Worlds because it's a really good anime story arc and I really like it. And Damwon just stomping everyone and winning and not losing, like losing one game throughout the whole tournament would be a bit boring.
They lost. They dropped the game against G2.
Okay, they lost two games.
And also, also against JDG.
Yeah, so they would lose 2 games for the whole tournament if they 3-0 the finals. I don't like that. I want
I
that to
will
stop.
say, if Damwon wins in a convincing fashion, it is going to feel like LCK is back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when you think about when you
I
think
think
about the
for
way
Damwon-
that LCK has won world championships in the past, it's been brutal, man. Like there have been multiple LCK teams that came to the world championship like, yep, we're here. Nobody can beat us. All right, there's a world championship. See you next year. You know?
I think a way Damwon can make a mistake is if they leave Camille open and then they give Camille to the enemy team without first picking it and focusing on the champs. Because I think that you saw in game 2 versus G2, they didn't really have an answer to Camille. Nuguri pulls out his Fiora and it was a bit cringe.
I
and I
think
guess you have
Nuguri
to-
wanted the Fiora skin. That's
Oh,
my.
I saw that on
Okay.
Twitter as well. I saw a couple of
Okay.
people saying that.
Yeah, and things like Jax as well, he could pull out if he wants to into the Camille. But I think that just dropping certain champs like giving SFM Nidalee or Graves could be a small mistake. I think giving Camille over could be a small mistake. Maybe dropping TF Prio. Maybe if Sonny want to pick up TF, that could be really good for them as well because you can respond to plays so easily. But yeah, overall, Damwon, I think they have no real weaknesses. They look like 5 fucking good individuals with a map hack, and I don't know what the counter is. Unless you can maybe if they mess up early a little bit and you outscale them, like Suning did against Top Esports in the first game. Like Suning versus Top Esports first game, they had 3 losing lanes, they had a Lee Sin, and then they had no Drakes. So the game was pretty lost until they scaled to 2-3 items on a Zerestial, and then the Wukong carried. So, but then you also have 369 who was completely NA chasing it up and griefing it. So if Damwon don't have someone that's making a mistake and they're actually snowballing the game properly, I just don't see how Suning can win.
Like the thing about the Diamond Gaming players, because I do really like Suning and what they have shown so far, but except for Sof FM, who is quite interesting on his own, I feel like the Diamond laners are similar to Suning almost in a way, but have slightly bigger champion pool. Like Nuguri can complete. I think Nuguri does still have like that aggression carry top laner in him, and we saw that he can play Gangplank. Like he can definitely play Camille. He can also play Vladimir. He's shown this so many times in the LCK, but also he can play Lulu and Ornn. And Showmaker, we just talked about Angel's TF, but Showmaker can also play TF as well as Joey spectacularly well. And I think the only way that Dalmon could lose, ironically, is going back to the subject we brought up in the beginning of this podcast, is letting nerves get into their head, because still there are relatively young roster without someone like Deft or even Faker to kind of hold them together in like a really clutch moment. So if they step onto this huge stage and sit down and randomly drop the first game because Sofum decided to play, I don't know, Ramos jungle or something, and just like catch them off guard.
I can see it. Like, you're saying something silly, but I can see it, honestly.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
lovely.
I could have just like Ramos jungle up and just like diving top and 1 minute later diving bot or something and just like completely throw the game away. And Diamond Gaming feels a bit nervous. I think that's like the only scenario where I can see Diamond failing. But as Caedrel mentioned, even if I think about it, if Diamond is playing on their peak form, I don't see like I can't really penetrate a hole in their armor. I can't think of certain
I
things.
think the only ways they have to approach this is it's either mid or jungle. It's the way they're gonna win this with Sunning. I think you have to throw a curveball at them one. Maybe like start picking some Galio. Angel's Galio is pretty sick. So maybe just pick Galio, draft a Kindred Galio for SFM, an Angel, and then just play hard for mid to into bot, and then maybe you can do something. Because I think if you have a winning mid jungle matchup, especially, it's hard. And then I think Leona will probably be first rotation for both these teams.
Fair
Or
enough.
Pentail.
All right,
Leona might be can.
Dagda.
Or it might be Pent.
Yeah.
I
I'm
need
kind
you
of
to say some nice things about Suning now.
Well,
'cause-
I'm excited. I know we're talking about the mid jungle 2v2 and then moving that to bot. I'm really excited to see what Bin and Nuggery can do up against each other. I think that's
Yeah.
such
Oh
a
my
tight
god.
matchup. And if those two, like, if you take the chains off of both of them, what happens? Like, what do we get between these two? Like, honestly,
hang
I
on,
think
hang on. Take the chains off. I don't think Bin has had any chains at any
no,
point. Like,
what I mean
Bin
is like
doesn't give a
Nuguri being on like Orn and stuff like this, or the Kennons and
Oh
that,
yeah.
like taking him on to like, and Fiora, but like get him on to like these champions where he can like really go toe to toe against the two of them. I think that matchup is so damn exciting. And if you do have SOFM who like usually tends to play up that way, and Bin does start to get to lead, game one versus top esports, his Wukong was disgusting. Like the way he played that in team fights, like there was one of the team fights where Karsa actually tried to ult him. He managed to like interrupt the ult with the W, but he put the perfect clone down, so then he ends up being taken into the enemy team. He gets like two perfect knock-ups across the fight, and it just looks incredible. He kills Jackie Love. He managed to get a triple knock-up off of his clone. Like the things he was doing in these fights were disgusting. So I think if you do get Bin ahead, I definitely think that it's still a way that they can try and play out those team fights. And same later on in the Wukong, he was getting these flashes onto Jackie Love after Jackie Love went over aggressive. Like Bin is a monster, and I think he's definitely should still be looked at as a win condition, because in that game one versus top where the rest of the map was starting to get set on fire a little, Bin was coming out on top.
Yeah. I can definitely see Ben as a win condition, especially as Jax. I feel like Bin's Jax is probably going to be banned, honestly, which is a weird, like, banning Jax seems like a strange thing to do, but at the same time, like, especially opening up the Camille pick for Damwon, I feel like Bin's Jax almost has to just be respected at this point with how dominant he has been on that pick.
I think if he busts out Jax against Nuguri, he's gonna get the Nuguri Jace treatment, and that matchup is really hard against a good Jace.
Really?
I think 369's Jace was not good enough to match the Jax. But if you blind pick something like Jax and they bust out the Jace, I think that's gonna be rough. But if they're red
Oh.
side and they last picks Jax into like his Camille or his Ornn or something, if Nuguri wants to play it, then it's really good. But I think red side is so OP, it's crazy. Every team is choosing red side. In the group stage, every team was choosing blue side. I think the meta evolved to the point where people were like, okay, we need last pick support or top if we're gonna win this game. Doesn't matter about first pick Lucian or Syndra anymore. Need last pick. So yeah.
It's
So you think
almost always
whoever gets
last-
red side first wins?
Whoever wins the coin toss wins. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't know. I think red side's so strong, and both these teams would benefited from so much, right? If they do want to first pick Camille, then you can bust out the Jack. So I don't think they're going to do that because Nuguri will watch the semifinals and be like, "Oh, we can't blind pick Camille." So Camille might be banned most of the series, and then you've got like, what does he blind pick? Does he blind pick Kennen? Then does Bin have an answer to Kennen? I mean, Jax isn't really a good one. Something like Jace would be good if he wants to pull that out, but I'm not sure if he plays that. So
He plays it, yeah.
okay, well then You can give him the Jace treatment back.
I don't know. I don't like LPL Jaces. I'm not gonna lie. Ashley, what were you gonna say?
Biz solo queue IGN is Love Camille, right? Yeah. So
I'm pretty
it was
sure, yeah.
Bing-
Is that Long Xing or is that Bin?
I'm pretty sure it's been.
I think it's
Maybe it
been,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, and also, you know how at the opening scene for 2020 Summer Split teaser, Nuguri's portrayed as Jace, but his favorite champions are Camille and Vladimir. He was like, "Oh yeah, I wanted to do Camille or Vladimir, but they thought it didn't look cool, so I went with Jace."
I mean, his Jace is really good too. So
Yeah, so we got two really good Camille players. So I don't know. I'm just really excited. I just hope one of them gets Camille. Hopefully Nuguri, but
I mean,
Yeah, I
I
guess
would
that's
imagine
next.
we're going to see a reasonable amount of Camille. And also, let's just quickly consider something Caedrel said earlier on in the podcast. Angel's a really good Galio. Galio Camille is a pretty good combo. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but it's
so is Showmaker.
basically
He's a
impossible
really
to
good
escape.
Galio.
the thing with
So-
Galio Camille is it was so OP until people learned that you could buy stopwatch. And when you bought stopwatch, it was really hard to play as Galio Camille because MAD, if the game, like if you're ahead as Galio Camille, you play overside, you play like a 1-4, and then the Galio pushes in mid and then ults to the Camille side lane when she all into enemy top right. But the problem is you have like champs like Senna Tam who can match it. You have TF now. You have Silas with TF ult. You have like all these globals that can kind of counteract it. And on top of that, people are starting to
on.
invest in stopwatch a lot. So
I will say, if you're playing Galio, you don't have to play against a Silas with TF ult. That's
or
almost a
the
given.
Silas with
know.
Galio ult. then.
Never
Same
know.
thing.
Maybe that's the new meta. You know.
That's
Yeah,
true.
just-
Galio support.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see some Galio, honestly. I think that's going to be a big curveball for Demon. Just because the Galio is so strong at shutting down carry junglers. Carry junglers are so hard counted by Galio. It's crazy.
I'm gonna be back in 2 seconds, guys. Sorry.
No worries, mate.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
So I want to start to sort of wind up this conversation. And if you guys are all right with it, I want to go into some conversations of maybe roster swaps and things like that that we've already started to hear some rumors about. And then we'll maybe do a Q&A with chat at the very end of things. So let's wind up the conversation about the World Championship Finals with some predictions. If you guys are all right with that. So I just want to quickly say some nice things about Suning first, because I feel like this has been a very Damwon favored conversation.
He wants that wave of clout.
It's nothing to do with Wavo Clout at this point. I'm fully committed. I've basically joined the religion at this point. But I will say this is a team that their prep is next level. Like their ability to read teams and like prep for teams is truly exceptional. They did it against V5 in playoffs, and everyone was like expecting V5 to win. Suning completely upset them, and it was not even that close, honestly. Like they've looked amazing across the year. Their preparation is exceptional. I think that can be a factor, and I also think that they definitely have some ridiculous cheese up their sleeves that I cannot wait to see what it's going to be. But there is absolutely no way in my mind that this is just a normal meta best of 5 for the finals. I just don't ever see that happening between these two teams, because there's no way Suning allows that to happen, because I'm sure that they know that straight up in the meta, Damwon probably wins. But if they can throw a spanner in the works, I think Suning's got this. So I'll throw my prediction out first. 3-2 Suning is where I'm going with this one, because I think it's going to be a banger. I'll go this way around. We'll go clockwise. So Caedrel, what's your prediction, mate?
3-0 Sunning.
3-0. Oh, let's go, Caedrel.
Yeah. That's my prediction. No reasoning behind it. I'm just confident.
You're officially a bishop of the Church of Suning. Congratulations.
I love Suning. The only biggest thing I love about Suning is their team icon. It's the best. It's
so good, isn't
angry
it?
lion with a Harry Potter blue scar on its forehead. And if you don't vote for this to win, something's wrong with you.
And it's like cute angry though, you know? It's like something where it's trying to be angry, but it's a little bit too adorable to be angry. Anyway, Ashley, tell us your prediction.
Speaking of logos, if you flip Damwon logo on a mirror, it says "now mad."
I love that so much. It's so stupid, but I love it so much.
I just want to celebrate the fact that, like, you know, Damwon succeeding has so many meanings. Like, you know, in a way, Damwon almost feels like a mutant on LCK. You know, they play completely, almost a different way from what we've come to expect from the LCK teams. You know, they play aggressive. You know, they play the skirmishes. They are creative and they know how to adapt to the meta rather than saying that okay, we will just play what's the best for us and try to make fewer mistakes as possible. So, but at the same time, that one actually is like an embodiment of what LCK is, like, you know, finding talents from the solo queue and getting them up from the challengers career and putting them all the way into the LCK. So I really like that one story, but I'm gonna say Suning Series 0 because I believe in Voodoo.
Ooh, you're gonna say
You're
Suning?
Wow.
Did you say Suning 3-0?
because I don't want to curse that one.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
I'll take
No,
a
you're
3-0.
not right off the
I don't
train.
care about curses. Curses not even real.
Punch,
There's
kick her
no
off the
hope.
train.
There's,
Kick her off the train. Not allowed.
She can have the back
Fake
carriage.
ticket.
She can have the back
Fake-
carriage.
fake
there's
reliever.
no hope. There's no hope for LCK. It's gonna be the LPL dominance from now on. We're just happy that we took the series out of G2. We can go home pretty happy with that. So
All right. Well, I don't believe in curses, so I'm just going to take that as a 3-0 seeding. We take those. Dagda, where are you at, mate?
I'm gonna go with yourself, Munch. I'm gonna go 3-2 suited. Can't let the boys down. Gotta go with them. So yeah, I think
Bravo,
I hope we're in
everyone.
for. I think we're gonna be in for a great series, though. I don't think like either of these teams are gonna go off quietly. I think we're gonna have an absolute banger.
I think even if it's like a one-sided scoreline at the end of it, the games themselves will be like hype as
Yeah.
fuck, basically. I think we're going to... There's no way the
Just
Suning
please,
just
no
dies
more
without
3-0
fighting, you know?
finals. Just no
I
more
know.
3-0
Just
finals.
give us a 3-1 at least. All right. I can't believe we got 4 Suning predictions. That was like
That's
literally
crazy.
my last possible expectation.
Well,
but...
three. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Three
well,
and-
3 and a
3.5,
cursed
3.5.
Suning prediction. But hey, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it.
okay, if
all
I
right.
had to guess, I would have said 3-1 to Damwon.
Okay. So that's
Well,
the
you
real.
would have been wrong.
That's the real prediction.
That's my unofficial.
So let's move on with the conversation. I kind of want to talk a little bit about roster swaps, if that's okay with you guys. And well, roster swaps, roster rumors. Let's be realistic here. And I think the only place we can really start is there's one big
Yes,
roster
I am
rumor.
going to IG as their new support. I
It's
guess
true.
it's out of the bag, you know. No.
I'd love to see it. He's got a
No, you
mean set,
wouldn't.
let me tell you.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, so let's talk Alfari. Realistically, I think that's the biggest one. Him and Bjergsen retiring are the two like biggest things to happen in the offseason so far. And the offseason's not even started yet, but Alfari going over to Team Liquid, getting paid over $1 million a year, which is pretty mental. Let's talk about that a little bit because I already went out on Twitter and I said, I don't think that this is retirement for him. I think that when you look at Team Liquid, the fact that they were in a group with G2 and Suning, went 3-3, like maybe he could actually have an impact. And as a player that's been on Origin and has played individually really well and has still failed to make it to Worlds, like actually this is a ticket to Worlds for Alfari. Where do you guys stand on this? Do you feel like this is just grabbing the cash and setting up for retirement, or do you feel like this is a real opportunity?
Let's be honest. If any player was offered 2 offers, I'll give you 2 offers, okay? We won't name names. Okay, you want to play in Europe for 300,000 a year, or you want to play in NA for 1 million a year? Well, you could make Worlds with this roster, but maybe you'll make it with the lower salary roster. I think everyone would have taken this offer. So anyone who's saying like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed in Alfari for taking this offer," cringe. Of course, if you were him, you would take the offer. And then Team Liquid. I mean, they're a good team. They've been winning multiple championships. I'm guessing they're going to get an NA jungler, probably Santurin or something in there. And then they have Core JJ as well. I mean, they basically have a super team. You have Alfari, EU, Jensen, EU, and then Core JJ, world champion support. So that roster was probably better than the ones that Europe was offering.
Tactical staying as well, apparently. And Tactical looked pretty amazing, honestly, even on the world stage.
Yeah, and if you weigh up all the options, it's like a new start. Like Alfari, it's getting extremely experience for him, right? Living in a different continent. He's getting paid a shit ton of money. And he's got a fucking good team and a really good organization around him, and people are going to care about him, and it's a new experience. So staying in Europe in a mediocre team on a very low salary compared to what he was offered, I think it kind of makes sense that he went there. So I really hate the people who are like, "Oh, I'm so disappointed in you," because I know for a fact the person who was keyboard warrioring that statement would have taken the exact same offer.
I don't
That's my
blame him
take.
I can get
at
behind
all.
that.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all. I think, look, Core JJ, I think, is fantastic. He was best player in NA this year. I think he did really well when it got to Worlds. I think the team as a whole could do really good. Alfari's a fantastic player, and like when you're offered that much money, you're not gonna be able to say no. Like realistically, like, and what looks like a very good team as well. Like if it was a kind of a shit team, maybe you weighed up, but the fact that you've actually got a decent team that's been built around you, I can't blame the guy.
I think
Yeah.
it has to be said as well that Team Liquid have really started to build themselves something that, like Caedrel was saying, can actually really work. Like they already showed this Worlds that I think they were the strongest NA team. Obviously, like standings wise, they went even with FlyQuest, but I think in consideration of the group, I think that they were the strongest North American team. Like I'm kind of hyped for next year's Team Liquid. Like I'm excited to see what they can actually do with this roster. There's serious potential, especially if the rumors are true that Santorin is coming over, because Santorin was one of the big reasons that FlyQuest did so well at Worlds in the first place.
It's like Steve's like, you finished the same place as regular split. Who was your best player?
Yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
Santorin." Mine now.
Paid for by Steve.
No, but I think in all seriousness, there's a point where in a player's career, there's a point where saying no would be stupid, and I think the Team Liquid kind of passed that point, and then they went 500 miles past it, and then
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. So on the other side, like let's stick with the NA theme then. Let's talk about Bjergsen for a second, because Jesus Christ, Bjergsen not going to be playing on TSM's mid lane. That's unbelievable. Like
Oh my
I
God.
still remember him replacing Reggie, and it was like, oh my God. First off, Reggie's not going to be playing. Second off, they're bringing a European player over. This is crazy. And then he like instantly, the brand was about him. Instantly, he was the perfect mid laner for the team. He's got this ridiculous legacy, and he's leaving on the back of an incredible split for him. Right? This was a great year in the LCS for Bjergsen, so it feels very much like this. I think I don't remember who said it on Twitter, but this is a really good like swan song year for him to finish out his playing career. Do you guys think he will finish out his playing career here? Do you think he will stick to coaching from this point on? Like, where do you guys sit in the whole thing, or is it just like kind of just sitting in the sadness right now?
I think
Oh.
he's probably just sticking to coaching personally. I don't see him coming back. I say once you've kind of stepped out of the limelight, like there's a few players that try to like high, but they never really hit that high note again. So I think if you're going to step
Nice
away
pun.
from it, you're probably gone. Like,
Ashley, you look like you're pained thinking about it.
Oh no, I just have like a really diverse facial expression. Sorry. Like I don't like getting into and speaking for other people's minds, so to speak. So
Mhm.
I'm not exactly going to guess what Bjergsen is thinking. I'm just gonna quote the interview that I did with him recently. And he said that because usually you ask the players what are your motivations, because some players only dream of winning worlds and their whole year rotates around the fact that they're building up towards worlds, and some players just enjoy playing every week, every split, every game by game. And Bjergsen did kind of mention it was the latter for him, that he enjoys playing the game, and not only just the game and his own performance, but seeing the team come together and seeing the team synergy come together and building up this relationship was what he was really enjoying a lot every split. So if what I heard from the interview is true, and if that perspective of League of Legends is what he enjoys the most, why not continue doing that? And also challenge himself in a coaching role where he can be more in depth about building the team. So from what I've heard, like everyone has to do what they're good at and what they're best at. So good on him. But at the same time, yeah, as a League of Legends fan, as any other League of Legends fan out there, I will miss Bjergsen. I will miss his Jillians.
Where do you sit, Caedrel?
That's
Well, it made me really sad. Because when I first came to League in season 5 as a mid laner, I think I went pro in season 6. He was the first person I followed on Twitter. He was the first player I looked at. It was him and Faker, you know. And then it was like, damn, they're like my icons. I want to play against them one day, you know, as a mid laner, because you're like, oh, they're so fucking good. Oh my god. And then he retired, and I was just like, wait, my whole world just came crashing down on me. Like realism, you know, it all hit me in the face like a fucking running into a wall. You know, I was like, oh my god, that guy Bjergsen's retired, dude. Like 4 years ago, I looked up to him and watched his VODs, and I thought he was one of the best mid laners in the world. And now he's just ended his career on a high note. You know, like he just won the split of LCS. He just won the split. He won like I don't know if he got MVP, but he needed MVP for that whole performance of completely carrying his team across the finish line. And yeah, his worlds was not that good, but I don't know. It was just such a shock. Yeah, sad to see. Really sad to see.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely it's sad, I think, for everyone to see Bjergsen leaving. But on the similar note to Ashley, I am happy that he is finding a new way to personally find happiness while staying in the league scene, while furthering his career, and obviously, like, I think it was a given that he was going to stay with TSM as an organization, as a part owner and everything. Like, it just makes sense to continue furthering that organization. So I think as being in a coaching role and maybe moving into like management eventually and that kind of thing, I think makes a ton of sense for him personally. So I'm still happy for Bjergsen that at least he is doing something that he wants to do. And I think this is on his terms, right? Because I think with the year that he's had, I think this has to be on his terms. I don't think there's any way that TSM is like pushing him out, because I think that he was maybe their best player this year.
I also wondered, like, oh, sorry, you go first.
No, go for it. Sorry.
I was just thinking about it, like, how will the LCS get affected by this, right? Because for me, tuning into TSM, the main reason I tuned into TSM was 3 players: Doublelift, Bjergsen, and Broken Blade, right? I want to see those 3 players. I have no idea where the Doublelift's going.
It'll be
Bjergsen's
fine once
doesn't-
TSM Caps is playing.
Okay. No, but like in all seriousness, my whole like vision of TSM now is just dropped. Like, I don't see TSM as like a top team anymore. I don't really find too much interest anymore because Bjergsen's not there. Like, I thought they were like a really superstar team in NA now, but without Bjergsen, I'm like, well, they're kind of boring now.
How does this work? Yeah, how does this work? I have faith, though. I think Bjergsen will actually make an incredibly good coach. Like, when you listen to everyone talk about Bjergsen, the way that he influences other people, the way that like he's a constant positive force within a team, like everyone you hear talking about Bjergsen only has positive things to say. I think these are traits that are exceptionally valuable in a coach, like being able to bring team spirits up. Obviously, he's incredibly knowledgeable about the game, and he'll be able to help with like micro coaching as well as macro coaching. So I actually think in the grand scheme of things, him in a coaching role, it's not something I'd ever thought about before, but it actually makes perfect sense, right? When you think about it from that perspective, Bjergsen could be the perfect coach for TSM.
Especially when he's so familiar with all the back end stuff, right? He understands how to interact with everyone who's there. He's got a relationship, whatever, and it makes things a heck of a lot easier. But one of the things, like, kind of touching on both these stories, is like what happens to Impact and Parth. Like, both these guys are super good at their specific roles, and I'm curious to see where they go or what happens to them as well, because they're both two highly sought after people that I imagine are going to end up on some team and like really end up making a difference wherever they do end up.
It would be CLG Path, and they'll reignite the rivalry.
You know what I think they should do? I think TSM should sign Rookie in the Shy.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god. Let's fucking go, dude. That would be something. They'd have to pay some mega bucks.
No wonder
for
IG are
that.
scraping the bottom of the barrel with me.
Then they'll win. How fun
Yeah.
is it if you're a rookie in Shy and TSM offers you and you're just like, well, we can go on holiday? That's pretty fun.
Dude, think about it. Like, they wouldn't even have to learn the language, because they're just so good that they just win anyway.
Although their scenario is kind of funny, because if I imagine it coming true, I don't know if I'm BMing LCS by saying that, but the moment I imagine it, they're instantly holding us spring and summer trophies. Like, there is no doubt about that.
Like, they could play without other teammates. It's fine. They'll just
They
win.
do that anyway.
I have infinite faith in
That is
Rookie.
so true. But at the same time, Rookie has Rookie has a long-term girlfriend in China, and Dashai, like I feel like Rookie and Dashai does get a lot of freedom in terms of how they dictate the playstyle in IG. So I see very little chance of them moving anywhere, and the least of regions Celsius. If I had to take this statement seriously, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Although Alfari versus Shy, Liquid versus TSM.
Oh my god! Suddenly, the top lane in North America is
crazy.
stacked.
Yeah, it's
Holy
you have
crap.
Impact, Broken Blade, the Shy, Alfari. What the fuck? Is
They're
this
like-
EU 2019?
The Shy's been streaming in Korea recently, and he picked Ash top, Talia top, Aphelios top, and
Oh,
he's been winning
God.
fucking games on this.
Why?
So entertaining to watch.
Ash top. I feel like Ash top
Ash
has
top.
got to just be terrible, right? You play against
Not in the
anything with a
Shy
gap
sense.
closed and you just die every time.
But he makes Aphelios top look legit.
I
Just
mean,
gonna
did it
say
with
that.
Kalista as well. It's just working his way through the AD carry pool.
Yeah, this guy is
he'll be
just
on
an AD
support.
carry player that hates support players. That's all
He's
it
gonna
is.
play Yumi top.
Yeah,
Yumi top.
let's
Yeah,
go.
God. All right. So I'm going to open things up now to a bit of a Q&A with the chat. So if
Cool.
anyone has any particular roster rumors that have been announced that you want us to talk about, or any questions that you would like to ask Caedrel or Dagda or Ashley, please do chuck them in the chat now, as we'll start to slowly but surely wrap up the conversation. But yeah, let us know what you guys want us to talk about. Was there any other roster changes that you guys specifically had significant thoughts about? Because obviously there's not been that many big roster changes. Dagda leaked that he thinks that Perks should join Fnatic, but I don't know whether that was going to
Yeah,
happen.
there was a rumor about that, about G2 loaning Perks to Fnatic.
That would be something.
I'm a genius.
Really. I can't remember where I read it, but I thought like, oh boy.
Dagda said it on the last episode, and
Yeah.
I was like, no way,
I
no
don't know,
way.
I just
And then I
think-
saw that on Twitter, and I was like, surely not. Surely he's not the prophet.
Maybe I accidentally started the rumor, but either way, I just think
No.
that Perks is he just looks sad in the AD carry position. He just looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
Like, I think he just wants to be back mid.
All right, so actually on this topic, so Kaidox in chat has a question. Likelihood of G2 staying together after this year. Where do you guys sit on this conversation? Because it's
Low.
clear to me that this is like Caps and Perks, they both want to play mid, right? I think that's a pretty evident fact. Perks didn't have a good year, particularly in AD carry. Is there any world where that happens?
Yeah, I think it's unlikely they stay together, to be honest. I think Perks is. I mean, if you look at Perks in spring, he was the best performing mid by far, and I don't know, he was just so good. Well, I know he has it in him that he wants to play mid, because when I watch his stream in solo queue when he's playing AD, it looks so depressing. Like he's winning bot, he gets 5-man dove, the game's
same in
over.
competitive.
It's the same thing over and over, and it's just so boring. I don't know. That guy wants to be unleashed. He's like, I think Perks takes things personally sometimes, and he's just like, if he's in a 1v1, he'll like also, like before we play against G2 on stage all the time, Perks invites Expect to 1v1 last year and just completely stomps him in 1v1 before we play against each other. And he always gets mental advantage. It's crazy. I think Perks is just, he's born for 1v1s, not 2v2s.
But do you not think... So do you think Caps would be happy to play AD carry?
No, I don't think so.
So you think it's
That's the
doomed?
problem.
So someone in chat says it's confirmed that G2 will stay together for 2021, but I haven't seen any official confirmation yet. So we'll see. We'll see on that one.
I don't know. I don't know when the contracts run out, but I think they're signed for the next few years. But I don't know if they're going to stay together.
Yeah.
Like I heard, like teams can loan away players. So
Yeah, and buyout clauses exist as well. Like contracts are only as binding as people want them to be in the grand scheme of things. So let's. I'm trying to think what other roster changes there have been that have been announced. I guess nothing has been really announced. It's all been rumors, right? But I guess
there's been a
Tarzan
couple.
to the LPL, right?
I was racking my brain. I was like, I know there's an LCK player that's supposed to be going to LPL, and I couldn't remember which one it was.
Do you guys?
That's good.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know that much about Tarzan. I just know he's meant to be hyped. I'm excited to
really,
learn
really
about
good.
Tarzan.
I think he's really good. He's crazy good. I
He'll-
just think he was a bit jailed.
I think he's meant to be joining LNG, right? Which is not the greatest team this year. Let's be honest.
But how much is he getting paid?
A lot.
Oh, lovely.
I remember
Oh.
they announced that the LPL was going to have a salary cap, and people were like, "Oh, this is going to be the death of the LPL. They can't just buy players anymore." Blah blah blah. And then everyone very quickly realized that they hadn't actually announced how much the salary cap was. And it's like, if that salary cap is $4 million US, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, let's be realistic here.
Yeah, I
We don't
suppose.
actually know what that is, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason.
I've heard the rumor is that LNG are like starting from scratch though, more or less.
Yeah, they
It's
dropped.
like-
I know that Flandre is not going to be on LNG
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason, I think. Apparently, there's been an Astralis roster that has been rumored or something, but I don't know anything about that one. Astralis supposedly signing Zanzara, Jeskla, Promiscu. I haven't seen that rumor. I don't know what you guys think about that rumor. Zanzara is pretty hyped though. Certainly, I know Veteran is like a huge Zanzara fanboy.
Yeah.
and
He's always looked
Promiscu-
really good in EU Masters.
Oh, sorry, I just have to
I was
go
always
back.
impressed with Zanzar.
Doorbell's ringing. Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, Zanzar in. Oh, sorry, Ashley. Did you wanna?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Zanzar
No,
always
no.
looked really good. Really good in EU Masters. I was always really hyped for him. He was like everyone we talked to was like, "This is the guy. Just keep your eyes on him." And he did look great. So I mean, if he is coming on, I think it's just really good to see a lot of the talent from EU Masters now moving into LEC. Like we end up with Mad Lions, who did look great, and we've
Mm.
seen a bunch of that talent come in. So I'm happy to see more of that budding talent move on forward, just like we've seen in the LPL this year. Like the rookie talent that is starting to come into League of Legends is stacked. So the fact we're starting to get these new players in that are that good is always great.
I have to say as well, you mentioned Mad Lions Armor as well has been mentioned a couple of times in
Armor,
the
yeah.
chat.
I know
Armor-
Shadow's technically potentially going to a LPL
Yeah,
team.
I think
With
Shadow
LPL
did a couple of tryouts with LPL teams because he's
Yeah.
technically an LPL resident, isn't he? Which
Yes,
would be
because he played
interesting.
LGL before. Yeah.
So we'll see on that one. I want to talk about Armut though, because obviously Arome. Last episode of Bevvies the Boys, Dom said that his ball sack could 1v1 Arome.
Good one, Dom.
Which is a controversial statement, but now there's a rumor that Armut is going to be the guy stepping in for the Mad Lions. What did you guys think of Armut? Because honestly, at Worlds, Armut looked pretty great, right? He didn't really have many bad games at all.
Yeah, he was pretty damn good, I think. I mean, in solo queue, he's always been top 10 in Europe. Yeah, he's really smurfing, I think.
He's like the latest descendant in this lineage of really good aggressive Turkish top laners, right? Broken Blade, and you even put TF Blade there.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah.
Like Rodman, and now it's like Armut. Like, I don't know what's up with Turkey and the border in Turkey, but they produce really good top laners, and I'll say Armut
Really
is like the
aggro top
latest.
laners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get behind that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't think about TF Blade. Yeah. All right. Well, it seems like the conversation is drying up a little bit at this point, so I think we'll close out the show. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm just going to do one last whip around. If you guys want to let people know what is going on in your lives, where they can check you out, like YouTube channels, Twitch channels, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll close out the show. So we'll go in clockwise once again. So Caedrel, then Ashley, and then Dagda, and then we'll close out the show.
Yeah, I'm deciding what I'm doing next year. Maybe you'll see it announced soon. It hasn't been decided, but if you want to know where it's going to be announced, it'll probably be on my social media. It's just at Caedrel. That's me. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Ashley, what are you up to right now?
Well, I have a Twitter, so if you want any kind of content between proper interviews with LCK players and me just like, crying over photos of retired LCK players, so I don't know. Okay, just like my Twitter is like the biggest like LCK fangirl Twitter. So if you want to follow those kind of content, just go.
Okay, all right. Well, if you want to follow an awesome player / caster, it's at Caedrel. If you want to follow
Nope,
an
just
awesome
player.
interviewer that does a ton of player-related content, follow Ashley Kang on Twitter. Obviously, the Twitters are on the screen already. Dagda, what are you up to right now?
I'm gonna very quickly follow up saying Caedrel's got a very entertaining stream on Twitch as well.
That's true.
See if
He
you
does
watch
suck
him
at
get
Dark Souls.
smashed at Dark Souls at one stage over in China.
Oh yeah, I
also-
used to come and meet there.
Okay, I might have 500 deaths, but there's only one boss left now.
Mate,
That's
I
it.
can help you. We can duo that if you
Midir-
need some help.
I can't kill him. I can't kill him. He's too broken. This boss.
Which boss?
Midir, the dragon?
Oh, okay, yeah. Midir's hard. Midir's hard. Um,
Okay.
Mate, I can always drop a summon sign. Anyway, we're gonna round out the show. Thank you. Oh.
Give me a second,
I
dude.
thought you were done. I thought you were done.
I know. I know. Also, Ashley has Horizon, and also her YouTube channel is fantastic. I'd very much recommend following there. And then I'm Dagda on Twitter, and I'll eventually start streaming on twitch.tv/DagdaCasts or DagdaLPL even.
Twitch TV /DagdaLPL. Yeah, follow everyone on Twitter. That's the easiest way because we all tweet everything because we are obsessed with social media. So with that, I'm going to close out the show. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next week after the finals for the 6th episode of Bevvies to the Boys.